This is Jim Moore. You are watching Justice for America. This is episode number 77. What would it be like if conspiracies turned out not to be conspiracies? If the things that you have been told are not happening are actually happening? Well, that's going to be our subject today. That's what we're going to talk about. Three things. We're going to talk about conspiracies that are actually happening. We're going to talk about what's going on in Texas, down the southern border right now. Maybe some things you haven't heard of. And the Texas Fed challenge with the feds. And then a subject that is near and dear to my heart, safeguarding our children. So you're going to want to make sure and stay tuned and listen. All right, let's jump right into this. So I spoke about in my last program how that there are conspiracies and then there are conspiracy theories. Now, people call them now conspiracy facts because something that moves from the theoretical into the factual is no longer a theory, right? It's now a fact. So I tell people, I know it sounds like a broken record, but it's very important that this conditioning that we've had through the years to see everything that doesn't come across on ABC and CBS and NBC to be non-factual. Only the what we call the legacy media or the alphabet media, they're almost all of them very left-centered, very liberal, very into a new world order agenda and so on and so on. So frankly, I'm just going to say very frankly, they cannot be trusted in a vast majority of things that they say. So what God has done, and most of you know I'm a Bible guy, what I believe God has done with the internet and the rise of the internet has allowed people to get accurate information mixed in with a lot of crazy stuff too. You have to discern what's true and what isn't true, okay? You can no longer just trust in Walter Cronkite or whoever, just, oh yeah, they're always going to tell us true. It used to be that way, that they were trustworthy and only the facts, okay? Just the facts, man, okay? But it's not that way anymore. There are a lot of citizen journalists now that are exposing things that have been kept secret. And we know this is a big issue with God because he said through his son, one day, everything that's been kept secret is going to come out in the open. What does that mean? That insinuates there are a lot of things that have been kept secret, or else he wouldn't have said it. He wouldn't need to say it, okay, but he did. All right, so that's actually happening right now. And yeah, so we're going to talk about a few of those things that have been in the past. Oh, that's weird. That's conspiracy. Nobody believes, whatever. All right. So I actually shared this last week, and I want to share it one more time, that the guys from Epoch, depending on, I've heard it both ways, Epoch News have said that they wanted to find out if there was documentation for the New World Order, for the WEF, for the Klaus Schwab, the Great Reset and all that. Anyway, long story short, yes. They found a book, I believe it was written in 1991, where they laid out everything they're now doing today. So the cat's out of the bag. Everything's out there. It's not pretend. It's not a joke. It's actually happening. You need to know about it just to be informed so that you can prepare your heart and mind and be ready. And then I talked about a link, and I won't go into it too much because it was last week as well, but a link where Tucker Carlson talks about what's going on at the border. So going past those, let me talk about laser beams. How many laser? Oh, again, it makes you laugh, because it wasn't that many years ago. This was all like science fiction stuff. I mean, really, it was just science fiction. The guys were postulating about, one day they'll have laser beams and they'll be able to shoot down aliens from outer space and blah. Well, they're doing it. Not the alien part, but this is something in the UK. Okay, link number 1, Dragonfire laser weapons. Now, if you go to this, there's a picture. You can actually see them doing it. It's kind of cool. So lasers are simply concentrated beams of light that carry enough power to destroy things. And they're no longer theoretical. They are actually, and probably they've had these things for a few years. Typically, I had some brothers in the military. They said they got stuff that we know about that we're like on pangs of treason, can't even tell you about. So they typically have things many years before they get into public. Once they get into the public, we're past them trying, you get what I'm saying, trying to keep it a secret. I think it's harder today because of the internet, but so the stuff is getting released quicker. But yeah, this is one of them. So this is in the UK. It shows you them shooting down a drone. So aerial warfare is changing every day. We now have warfare that's going on in space. I shared a link. I can't always go back and find every one of these, but this was a guy from the Pentagon, okay, talking to some governmental guys in the public forum, talking about these blue beams and these laser beams that they have that can set fires and destroy tanks. And so, I don't know why it is that, and I'm going to make some Christians mad here, but Christians are the slowest ones to believe this stuff. I don't know why it is. Yeah, anyway, so not trying to offend, just saying. So that's a good one you want to look at. No longer a conspiracy, it's the truth. Number 4, here's another one, and I've only got a couple of these, is aerial seeding. Okay, you probably heard of seeding the clouds. It kind of sounds like no big deal. Yeah, seed the clouds. Kind of sounds like Johnny Appleseed out there throwing some seeds in the cloud. So what they have been doing in the realm of weather manipulation has been going on for a long time. But again, hush, hush, secret, keep a lid on it. Boom, boom, internet comes. Hard to do that. Okay, now they're switching their strategy. If you can't beat them, join them. They're saying, oh yeah, we've been doing it, and isn't it great? Okay. However, now some people are starting to say, cry foul. No, you cannot. You know, the chemtrails, it's a real thing. We've now got all kinds of documentations and pictures, so don't go, oh, I don't know about that. No, it's all out there. Okay, so I forget which city this was. I forgot to write it down. But there are some places now in our country, I believe it's our country, that are starting to ban these things, the manipulating of the weather and the seeding and the, you know, all the stuff that they're doing that really are playing God. Now, can I just back up real quick and say, so much of what's happening in the realm of transhumanism, trying to make additions to our biological bodies to improve them to the place where there will come a joining of those things to completely, where everybody will have the chip in their head and everybody will have a certain amount of robotics and stuff in them. This is the goal. So it's all about one simple thing. Are you ready for this? I'm pausing for effect. It's all about playing God. It's all about what the serpent said in the beginning, in the garden, you can be like God. It's saying we are gods. What is it? Noah Yavari. I get these names mixed up, but he's like the guru for these guys, for Klaus Schwab and all these. He's saying, oh yeah, humans can be hacked. This is the future. You idiots who don't believe it, well, you'll just be done away with eventually. I mean, these guys are deadly serious about this, and they are not some minority off in the closet somewhere. These guys, they move and shape cultures and policies and so on in the world. They want to make human beings into a better version because they say we are gods. The whole God thing, that's just a myth. You got to quit believing that. Stop clinging to your guns and your Bibles, as former President Obama said. You got to come into the new age. You got to realize what's going on. Listen, what it's going to come to is a cataclysmic conflict. Light will become lighter, dark will become darker. People will be deceived and go along with this garbage, and others will say, absolutely not. That will end in this. I'm putting my fist together, a conflict. You're not going to have, a couple billion believers fall into that. Unfortunately, you will have some that resisting will be too hard for them. They will not be able to put their lives, their children, their finances, whatever at risk. And yeah. So I promised on the last program to tell you about a link at the end, and I didn't do it, so I'll try to remember to put it. It's a link that talks about how to be prepared. If God will help me to remember, I'll put it on there. All right, so they're banning, some places are now starting, again, enough proof has come out, it's out of the closet, they're saying, okay, we're not going to let you guys continue to do these aerial spraying, trying to change the weather, because it's harming. It's putting stuff in the atmosphere that is hurting our bodies. real quick, you know, there's time that cancer almost was non-existent, diabetes, heart failure, all these things, all these major killer diseases were not even a thing. Okay, all right. So, okay, let's move on to the Hamas war, what's going on. And again, you need to understand what's going on globally in these conflicts is something that affects us. We are moving towards a global conflict. There are now people who I don't believe really are fear mongers, who are not just predicting, they're saying this is going to happen, this is inevitable. I won't go so far as say it's inevitable. I believe we need to prepare and so on, but I also think we should pray. I mean, there were times that God would warn a certain country, Israel or whoever, and say, listen, you're going to go into captivity if you don't repent. And so we always should believe for the best and pray for the best and all that. At the same time, we should be ready if something does happen. So what's happening, there's so much. You guys should be following this stuff. What's happening with Hamas, I know you get burnt out with it after a while, but it's important to know, because if you don't investigate, they will investigate for you, and you will just hear what's regurgitated by the media. All right, so this link is a congressman by the name of Mike Gallagher. I'm not very familiar with him, but he's talking about the evil of Hamas and what it's done, and the moral bankruptcy of about 50% of this generation who are being unduly influenced through the venue of TikTok. Now, I know some of you have that. I know there are a lot of guys that have it, a lot of politicians, a lot of leaders. I get it, okay? The poll, I mean, I could probably be way more popular if I was on that. I personally don't feel comfortable with it. I feel, and you should watch this, even if you stay on it, okay? I'm no judgment, but I'm telling you, you should listen to what this man has to say about how it's influenced our kids, and it's influencing policy, and it's influencing our idea of morality and so on. Really good one to watch. Okay, and how many of you know who Bill Maher? I think it's Maher. It looks like Mayor to me, M-A-H-E-R, Bill Maher. TV personality who of late has started to shift some of his super liberal, super leftist, super radical, Democrat, blah, blah, blah. Okay, over the last year, I feel like there's an awakening that's happening with Bill Maher. And he's starting to go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Yeah, okay, I'm going to go against the party line for a second. You're going to want to watch this as he talks about the plain, simple truth about Israel and Hamas. Now, you've heard the phrase, from the river to the sea. I've watched a number of investigations or, you know, where people have gone out, interviews, and they stood, and somebody's, you know, you got some grandma out there going, from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea. And they'll stop him and ask him, what does that mean? I don't really know. Why are we lemmings? Why do we just parrot what other people say? It's so foolish. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you what the river to the sea means. The river is the Jordan River, okay? That is, you know, like a border for Israel. The sea is the Mediterranean Sea. It basically is from one border of Israel to the other. So what they're basically saying is, we want it all. And the only way we will have it all is if you're all dead, okay? So it is absolute, unmitigated, 100% genocide that they are mouthing and desiring. And that, my friend, is the devil, okay? I don't care what you say. I know a lot of people have been killed on both sides. It's horrible. It's butchery. I'm sure Israel has done wrong. I know Hamas, you know, and I'm not going to say it's this. I believe that terrorism is abhorrent. Okay, it's evil, it's demonic. But this whole idea that we're going to wipe you out before you wipe us out, either way you see it, it's genocide and it's evil. And I'm not just looking for new words to describe how horrendous it is. I am telling you, it is demonic. There are spirits involved that motivate people to go out and do things like cut babies' heads off and all of that. And if you make it into a purely political thing, you're missing the point. All right, so one last thing here. I think some of you know what's going on in Texas. We're currently residing in Texas. I'm in Arizona right now, but we're living in Texas, and they are at the forefront. Now, Arizona is a border state with Mexico, too, and so they're fighting this battle. And even their liberal governor has started saying, we can't have this, we can't, you know, So it's easy to sit in your ivory tower of idealism and philosophy and just do what you think is going to make you popular with everyone. Oh, come to us, come to us. Okay. I have a heart for homeless people, but I'm not going to let 500 of them in my city come live inside my house. Okay. That's, again, the eclipse of reason and the departure from common sense is not without consequence. All right. It's not about a lack of compassion. It's about saying there is only so much we can do. So we create policies to do what we can do. We don't throw open the borders so that everybody can come in and vote for us. Okay. So Texas is one of those places where this battle is going on, feverishly. Texas has said, this is our state. Now, as far as I can tell, the Constitution gives provision for states to protect their states. Okay. There's always limits. I get that. I'm not going to go into all that. But basically, Texas says no. If the federal government wants to allow illegal migrants to come into the country, you can let them come in someplace else. They're affecting our state. Okay. We talked about the busing issue. Here's the left always wants to say it's a political stunt. No, it's not a political stunt. That's a lie. Okay, don't take it from Papa Jim. It is a lie. lie. It's not a political stunt. It's an attempt to take care of a problem. Okay, so anyway, even the federal government has done the same thing. They bust people all over the country. So they're disingenuous and they lie when they put Governor Abbott down for doing this. Okay, 100%. In favor of what he's doing. All right. So the feds have finally now said they're going to throw down the gauntlet. They're going to go to the extreme. They're going to use all their might and power to stop Texas from closing the border down, okay? Because they don't want the border closed down. I've been saying for at least 2 years, shut it down. Sometimes we make these issues so complicated, and they are complicated. But you know what? Desperate times call for desperate measures. And sometimes when you let things go for so long that there is a crisis that is literally killing people, raping women and children, killing people with fentanyl, the list goes on and on. It's 100 times more horrible than you can imagine. You need to do something radical. And in my opinion, that radical, I know it would affect the economy. I know it would hurt people's livelihoods. I know. It's complicated. The problem is we talk about so many things and get in the weeds without complications. We never do anything. Okay, and that's a cover up for not wanting to do anything. Shut it down. I guarantee you, if you shut the border down completely, it wouldn't be a week before the proper things were put in place to stop the crisis. But we're not willing to do that. Okay, we don't want to upset the apple cart. But I believe it's come to that, and other people are saying that too. So the federal government is challenging Texas. They're saying you can't do this, and Texas is basically giving them the one-fingered salute and saying we're going to do it anyway. Sorry if that's inappropriate. There are quite a few links about what's going on in Texas. I just recommend that you watch as many as you can. Most of them are short. Just get yourself up to speed with what's happening. Pray. Pray for the people of Texas. And yes, pray for the immigrants who have been told by our federal government that they can come in. Okay? In a way, I'm going to make some of you mad, but I'm saying, in a way, it's not just their fault. If you were living in abject poverty and under the cartels that these governments have allowed to dominate their systems, you might want to run to a place that says, come, we'll take you. We'll give you free health care. We'll let you drive a car. We'll give you a job. And if your family was suffering, okay, I'm not saying it's right. It is still illegal. But if the country will not enforce its own laws, then whose fault is it really? At the very least, there's blame to go around plenty. All right. Okay, let's jump off that into the last one. Here is the spiritual fight for our children. Now, I have spoken many times on this. I want to warn you of something. It's going to get a little graphic, okay? Kids are in the room. You might want them to go bye-bye. What we do, and we don't know that we do this, is there's something that's called a news cycle. Okay, I want to make sure you heard that, a news cycle. So news agencies have a overly accepted, it's an all-inclusively accepted principle. If it bleeds, it leads. In other words, whatever is the most dramatic thing happening is the thing that's going to be the lead story. Why? Because they want to get people's attention. Obviously, they want people to watch their program, right? I want you to watch this program. Some of that's okay, but it can get crazy and it can get off, out of bounds, so on and so on. So, if it bleeds, it leads. So, what happens when the same story gets told a couple, 2 or 3 weeks in a row and nobody's watching anymore? You shift the story. Now, in our minds, in our little craniums, as the citizens, as the public, is we kind of subconsciously, and I'm not blaming you, I'm just saying we kind of think that issue goes away. Or at least because it's not in front of us all the time, we're not thinking about it so much, okay? This is one of those issues that you can never allow to go away because it is at a foundational fabric of our society. And I'm going to go a step further and say it will incur the judgment of God upon this country if we don't do something about it. And that is providing for the security of our children, whether it comes to human trafficking. I mean, if you really saw what was going on with human trafficking, it would make you sick to your stomach, okay? But here's something I want you to understand. It's not just one issue. The gender dysphoria, gender identity, the mutilation of our children, and yes, I will call it mutilation, the grooming of our children through pedophiles disguising themselves as a broken LGBTQ, all of these issues, and again, I know someone's going to get to this point and they're going to be on, I can't help it. All of these issues are connected. You have to be smart enough to see the whole panorama of human sexuality is connected to a single overarching objective. The scripture says, if you don't mind me throwing in a Bible verse here, Babylon, all the way back in the book of Genesis, they built a tower and God had to confuse their language and separate them, okay? Now we treat Babylon like a joke and we make programs and stuff with the name Babel in them. It's just, I don't understand how we can be so foolish. But Babylon is also spoken about, well, as it was in the beginning, will be in the end. Babylon is spoken of the world system. A lot of ramifications that I won't go into. But basically, Babylon speaks of this rebelling. Why did the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing, saying, let us throw off their bounds. We're God. We're God. You can't be God. We're going to be God. Lucifer becomes an icon for wanting to be God. Okay, anyway. So, what's happening? It says that the world, and again, this is a big subject, I'm not going to go into it, but it says all the world was made drunk or intoxicated with the wine of fornication. Now, fornication is a all-inclusive word that takes in all sexuality that God does not approve of, all perversion, okay? Anything from premarital sex to you name the worst possible thing, okay? It's all one thing wrapped up in that word fornication. And this is what God says will happen to the planet at the end, that all the earth will be made drunk with the wine of Babylon, her fornication. She's called a prostitute. You must see that all of these issues are tied together. They're all moving towards the same goal. Okay, so let me real quick and I'll be done. Give me 5 minutes. There's a bill that's gone out in the state of Maine that would make it illegal. First of all, in states that says, no, we will not, like Florida, we will not allow you to mutilate our children. Now, I'm going to say this is the graphic part. Are you ready? Okay. Plug their ears, send them out. I can't show you this stuff on here, but you can look it up. If you have a Twitter account, just start doing investigation for the child mutilation and so on and so on. If you were to see, and I'm not saying do it, I'm just saying, I've seen it. If you were to see the surgical procedure that it takes to create anatomy on a young girl to make her have male body parts, or to take away from a male and cut away and so on to have female body parts, I'll guarantee you, if it wouldn't make you ill, it should. This is not a little thing. See, this is what happens. It's little by little. Don't you feel sorry for them? And yeah, we should have compassion for people that are confused and broken. Absolutely. We're not called to be haters and wounders and violent. No, God, we're called to do the opposite. But anyway, It goes little by little to where eventually it becomes something so horrendous that you can't even hardly talk about it, and yet people are voting it into policy. So Maine is saying, hey, if this state over here won't let you butcher your children, you can bring them here. Now, this is a bill. It hasn't passed yet. You can bring them here, and we'll take them in. And listen now, they want to make it a law that they will not give those children that come to their state for this surgical procedure, nice way of saying it, they will not give them back to their parents. Oh, we throw up our hands. It's horrible. It's horrible. Okay, listen, you got to be smart. You got to be smart. Okay? Just because we throw up our hands and freak out about it, that doesn't mean we've done our job. Our job is to speak out. Our job is to pray. Our job is to write our congressman. Okay, these are our kids. What happened if one day they take your child, maybe you don't even have a child yet, but you will, and your state passes that, or all the states, or it's a governmental, federal thing. You've got to do this or we'll take your child away. Don't think that's impossible. There are whole countries that have done things like that. China to be one of them. You have a second child, we're going to take that child and never give him back. These things are real, and they're not just, we're called to sacrifice our life for Jesus, so it's okay. No. We're actually called to stand up against tyranny. Rick Jonas wrote a great book recently called The Bible or Biblical Response to Resisting Tyranny or something like that. Great book. All right, so that's the one. There are two or three more. And again, I can't even show you. I will tell you this one thing. For a young lady that wants to become a boy, they peel the skin off of her forearm in order to make a body part. That's all I'm going to tell you. It is horrendous. And it is irreversible. And it is hellish. And people that do it, in my opinion, ought to go to jail. All right. That's all I'm going to say. Jen, just tell us what you really feel. I just did. All right. Last couple ones here. 5,200. This is an older thing. Somebody asked a question. Whatever happened to these guys? 5,200 federal employees were caught in a sting. A massive PEDO, I'm not going to say it out loud, cover-up. Okay? This was a number of years ago. It's like, what happened to these guys? Were they put in jail and so on and so on? We're talking about within the confines of the federal government. All right. So the one I had that was graphic was taken down, so I can't show you that. Here's one. The CEO, I won't say his name, of United Airlines is full on into all things LGBTQ, all things perverse, and so on. He is dressed as a woman in the public square, crawling on his hands and knees, lustfully, yes, that's a word, lustfully, and he's taking the whole I will never fly on United Airlines ever again, as long as someone like this is at the helm. And you've probably seen some of this stuff where they're talking about, air traffic controllers and stuff. They're starting to hire them based on their sexual identity rather than their qualifications. It's crazy. So you want to look at that one. Number 5. Here's some good news. As you see over here, these massive exploitation things going on. There are people that are still fighting the fight, arresting people that are doing this, arresting Johns, arresting people that are involved in putting child, exploitation on the internet and so on. So here's a link where a whole bunch of them were arrested, and you need to know that that's happening too. All right, so there's some other stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff here that's what's happening with the WEF. I didn't have time to get to those, but you can look at those. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff. I wish I had time to do them all. I don't. And maybe I'll save some of them for next time. So I'm at my 30-minute mark and I got to go. God bless you guys. Hey, keep your head up. Keep alert, keep aware. Let the joy of the Lord be your strength, right? And know that God has got a plan. It's all going to end well, I promise you. And you are part of that plan. And you are loved, and you were created to be loved by God and to love him in return. So go out and do that. Tell the truth, speak the truth, but do it in love. In Jesus' name. All right, God bless you, and we will see you next time.